So from the introduction, I'll sing the invocation prayer. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Ram Raghava, Ram Raghava, Ram Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. And this week we're beginning from chapter 10, the deliverance of Nal, Kuvera and Manigriva. So we're right at the beginning of that chapter. I think it was maybe the first or second paragraph.
Third paragraph.
Because the great sage was compassionate. Are we there?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Are not to remain in the poverty-stricken condition. Yes. Oh, can start from the other one. A person who has a pinprick in his body. Is that where you wanted? Start from there.
So the paragraphs, in my one, maybe the paragraphs are slightly different in your book because I don't have a paragraph that begins like that.
Oh.
One I've got is because the great sage was compassionate. And the next paragraph is foolish persons are engaged in.
Chapter 10, is it? No.
It's a bit before the paragraphs that you mentioned.
Sorry?
It's a little bit before the paragraphs
Okay.
that you mentioned.
Is it they were thus enjoying themselves, that one?
No, it's because the great sage was compassionate. It's that paragraph.
Because the great sage was compassionate, that one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's what I have marked as well. Okay. So we could have some volunteers for reading. We've got one, Jay Prakash Prabhu, who's always the most enthusiastic in the group for reading. So it's much appreciated.
I'm still trying to find where we stopped last.
So chapter 10.
Yeah.
And it's 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph in my book. Beginning
before committing all kinds of sins.
I don't have a paragraph. No, yes, much before that. Maybe 3 paragraphs ahead of that.
2 paragraphs before that paragraph.
Yeah.
The new book, it's page 88.
So what was the wording? Could you just, sorry about this, because I had it on the next page, marked it on the next page.
From the beginning of the book, from the beginning of the chapter, it's the 4th paragraph.
Foolish persons are engaged in committing all sorts.
The one before that.
Yeah.
Because the great sage was compassionate.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so I hope everyone else has found it as well. Let me just read a little section from the Principles of Good Sadhu Sangha. So I believe we got to principle number 10 now. So the 10th principle of Good Sadhu Sangha. Ask questions that help clarify Srila Prabhupada's intended meaning. So of course we're having a Sadhu Sangha, we're having a satsang, we're having Sangha group online, an online gathering. Yeah. So although we're not physically present, that doesn't mean we should shy away and hide away. So, present yourselves, ask questions, participate in discussions as well. So questions may be directed to myself or anyone else in this group for that matter. The aim is to facilitate discussion, so questions and answers are most welcome. Of course, related to what we are reading where possible and discussing. So let's just begin with a little background. It feels like it's been such a busy week. Who would like a little bit of a recap on where we are? Yeah. So last week we had the very enjoyable pastimes of Krishna as a muffin chore, as Damodar, as the butter thief, and as the one who is bound by his mother. So he was bound by Mother Yashoda for his naughty behavior. And then that led into this chapter, which is a basic, it's a history. This chapter is actually a history. So it's not an event that happened in Gokul, in Vrindavan. But there were two trees in the house of Nanda Maharaj, which Krishna liberated. Yeah, they were called the Yamal Arjun trees, and there is a history of these two trees. They were cursed. They were devas, demigods who were cursed to become trees in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and so this is giving us a background, this chapter, of how they became trees. Yeah. And so when we read the first few paragraphs in this chapter, it was explained that these two persons who were cursed to be trees, they were Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, that was the names. And they were the sons of Kuver, who is the Lord of Wealth. Yeah. So he's a very opulent personality. And so Prabhupada makes this comment that as a rich man's son is often addicted to wine and women, these two sons were also addicted to wine and sex. So that was kind of, because they were in such an opulent place, they just thought that the goal of life is just to enjoy yourself to the max. But then when they were bathing in a holy place, in the Ganges, in the heavenly planets, the Ganges goes through all of the planets in the universe. Narad Muni came there, he was passing by, and so he saw that their behavior wasn't right for that particular place in the Ganges. They were bathing and then they were naked, and when he came, they didn't cover themselves up. They were just kind of standing there in front of him, and they were not feeling ashamed. So he cursed them, and this is he's just about to give that curse now, and that's going to be discussed from here on. So it's actually explained that the curse he's giving them is his mercy. So we're going to read about that in more detail. Is that okay? Does anyone want to ask any questions about that so far? Okay. So probably would you like to begin reading?
Sure. Because the great sage was compassionate upon them, he wanted to finish this false enjoyment of intoxication and association with young girls and wanted them to see Lord Krishna face to face. He conceived of cursing them as follows: said that the attraction of material enjoyment is due to an increase of the mode of passion. Person in the material world, when favored by the material appearances of riches, generally become addicted to three things: intoxication, sex, and gambling. Materially opulent men, being puffed up with the accumulation of wealth, also become so merciless that they indulge in killing animals by opening slaughterhouses. They think that they themselves will never die. Such foolish persons, forgetting the laws of nature, become over-infatuated with the body. They forget that the material body, even though very much advanced in civilization up to the position of the demigods, will finally turn into ashes or stool. And when one is living, whatever the external condition of the body may be, within there is only stool, urine, and various kinds of worms. Thus, being engaged in jealousy and violence to other bodies, materialistic, cannot understand the ultimate goal of life, and without knowing the goal of life, they generally glide down to hellish conditions in the next life. Such foolish persons commit all kinds of sinful activities on account of the temporary body, and they are even unable to consider whether the body actually belongs to them. Generally, it is said that the body belongs to the person who feeds it. One might therefore consider whether the body belongs to one personally or to the master to whom one renders service. The master of slaves claims full right to the bodies of the slaves because the master feeds the slaves. It may also be questioned whether the body belongs to the father, who is the seed-giving master of the body, or the mother who develops the child's body in her womb.
So we can discuss this, many points raised by Srila Prabhupada. Was any points which stood out for you all? It'd be nice to see a few more faces on the screens so that we can have a nice discussion. Any thoughts on this paragraph? Anything that surprised you, or was like any thoughts you can see in relation to the modern day ideals, or
So one thing I was reading or listened to in a lecture recently is the teachings of Queen Kunti, and how she says that someone who's very wealthy, which is referring to here, someone who's very beautiful, someone who's very intellectual, it's hard for them to surrender to Krishna. And I think this is the principal example of that. She says that person can never fully serve Krishna properly. So I guess over here, it's material opulence is actually too much material opulence is like disadvantageous to devotional service, which is, some people might think that's weird. It's not, that's weird. It depends, right? So then having this, we might think that we're the enjoyers, we're the controllers, we don't need Krishna. And there's a risk of that, because you've got too much sense gratification. You might fall into the trap of forgetting that actually Krishna has given us everything. It's not us. We can't do anything without Krishna's sanction.
yeah, there's some really amazing instructions that you brought out from there. Thank you. Yeah, so nice you've drawn a parallel with the teachings of Queen Kunti. So that book is a commentary by Srila Prabhupada from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Kunti offers praise to Krishna, and this is one of her prayers, to say that because she's a queen, she lives a very opulent and royal lifestyle, and therefore she's susceptible to being, illusioned by the enjoyment that she has, and forgetting that she's actually that everyone is a servant of Krishna. So yeah, amazing prayers. If you get a chance to read those or hear about them, and they have some similar themes to what we're reading today. So the discussion is about who is actually the owner of the body. This is what Prabhupada's bringing up gradually in these next few paragraphs. Anyone else? I thought it was interesting just at the beginning of the paragraph how Prabhupada says Narad Muni was very compassionate on these two brothers, Alakavera and Manigriva. And I was thinking about how see, like, if someone, like, you hear like these Vedic stories and pastimes, and people get cursed, and then there's counter cursing, and things like this go on, and it's like generally the Brahmanas, they can give these curses, isn't it? And you think, well, what kind of person would do that? Like to curse you. In modern times, to curse someone is like to swear at someone, isn't it? But you see how language has changed and how connotation has changed. Here, Narad Muni, he's cursing these two brothers, but it's not in the kind of context we usually think of. Actually, he says very saintly people, they would curse, actually to give a benefit to someone, actually to benefit others, they would curse. So this is quite an interesting perspective, that they're not cursing just because they're so powerful and because they want to put other people down or anything like that. They're cursing because they know that this person, they will have some severe reactions, some severe karma for the kind of activity they're doing. And so cut all of that off at once. Just cut it off in one go. If they curse them, then that's actually compassion. They just resolve those misdeeds in one shot. Sometimes the suffering we have in our lives over such an extended period of time is because we have done some offenses or we've done some sinful activities, and then we go on and on suffering for that until it's all burned off. All the reactions of those activities burned off. But here Narad Muni, in one shot, he just, makes an arrangement, which we're going to find out about, so that these two sinful people get the opportunity to meet Krishna. So that's actually a blessing, isn't it? To meet Krishna. Whatever you have to do to meet Krishna is a blessing. So even though they were doing these horrible activities, the curse led them to meeting Krishna. So therefore it must be a blessing. So therefore it's a compassionate activity of Narad Muni. What do you think? Any thoughts on that?
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, when Narad Muni cursed them, he didn't see them as an enemy, but he cursed them to get rid of their anarthas from them.
Yeah. That's the thing, like what is that power to curse? Isn't it? What is that? He's getting this power to curse. He can turn a person from a demigod into a tree, How he got that power is because he's not how do you say, Prabhu? Did you say he's not envious, is it? So that's
Yeah.
So yeah, so he has this ability, because he's good. He himself is holding so many good qualities himself. He's a saintly person. And so he can see like how I should treat, how I should help these people by giving this curse. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
They asked for forgiveness, but Narad Muni said, I can't do that.
Yeah, that's right. So there are some things which is not mentioned in here, which is some details.
It's not mentioned here, yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain that for us, Prabhu?
Yeah, they asked for forgiveness, but Narad Muni said, no, I can't do that. That's not in my hand. But I can do one thing, that then he said, Narad Muni will make them in a tree and in Krishna's dam, and in a courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. And only Krishna can help them by delivering them.
Yeah, nice you brought that point out. That's not mentioned in here.
No, it's not mentioned.
But in other places, you'll find that explanation that, first of all, he just cursed them to become trees.
Yeah.
But then because they changed. They were like, oh, what's happening? I've been cursed. They kind of shook, woke up a little bit. And then they asked for forgiveness. And then he said, because you see what happens when a Brahmin gives a curse, he can't take it back. And so they can adjust. They can always make some, adjustment. And so he says, you can be trees, but then you can be trees in the house of Nanda Maharaj. So the extra mercy was there that they got. Yeah, nice point, Prabhu. Thank you. And Shashi Mataji, you had a question or comment? You're on mute at the moment.
Sorry, I pressed the Windows button and couldn't unmute. I just wanted some clarification on the sentence that says materially opulent men being puffed up with the accumulation of wealth also became so merciless that they indulge in killing animals by opening slaughterhouses. So in that day and time, in that era, should I say, are these slaughterhouses as we know them now, or are they trying to say because they were indulging in killing animals that they're opening slaughterhouses? So is it terminology, or were they real slaughterhouses?
Yeah, good question, Mataji. Thank you. So what Srila Prabhupada is doing is bringing this situation to modern day understanding here. And so these two brothers, they were in the Devalokas, they were in the higher planets. They didn't actually have those slaughterhouses there, but Srila Prabhupada is equating their behavior to kind of the modern standard. And so this is the modern standard, actually, that the modern standard is we should have material opulence, we should have intoxication, sex, gambling, we should have meat eating. That's like, that's normal. And so many times when we as devotees, we go and speak to maybe colleagues or maybe some family members or, people in general, and we say we don't follow these principles, we don't eat meat, we don't gamble, we don't have illicit relationships, we don't what was the last one, have intoxications. And they're like, what do you do for your life? How do you live? Isn't it? There's sometimes a response you get back like, then like, what are you doing with your life? That's like the standard lifestyle in modern day.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada is saying that this is all because of material opulence. Yeah, we live in a very material opulent society, but a very spiritually deprived society. So this is like the misfortune of the modern day. Anyone else could comment on this?
By following 4 regulative principles, that only makes you a human being. That's not, there's nothing to do with bhakti.
Yeah. This is like, according to Vedic instruction, that's like just the normal human life. To be following these things, it's just like to be a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we can read on then. Is that okay, Mataji?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. Jai Prakash Bhu? Prabhu, you're on mute still. We can't hear you.
Foolish persons are engaged in committing all sorts of sins due to the misconception of identifying the material body with the self. But one should be intelligent enough to understand to whom the body belongs. Foolish person indulges in killing animals to maintain the body, but he does not consider whether the body belongs to him or to his father or mother or maternal grandfather. Sometimes the father gives his daughter in charity to a person with a view of getting back the daughter's child as a son. The body may also belong to a stronger man who forces it to work for him. Sometimes a slave's body is sold to a master. From that day on, the body belongs to the master, and at the end of the life, the body belongs to the fire. Because the body is given to the fire and burned to ashes, or the body is thrown away into the street to be eaten by the dogs and vultures.
Okay. So just at the end of the last paragraph and through this paragraph, the discussion goes on to, who does the body belong to? So why is Prabhupada bringing this up, or why is this being discussed in the Bhagavatam, in the Krishna book? Because the root cause of all problems in this material world is one thing. It is actually ignorance, avidya, ignorance. Yeah. So what ignorance of what? Ignorance of who this body belongs to. Who am I? And what is my purpose in life? So these 3 things are very important. If one knows the answer to these 3, then there is no avidya, there's no ignorance. But we see practically in today's world, nobody knows the answers to these 3 foundational questions. Yeah. Excuse me. So I find it interesting because Prabhupada in the previous paragraph uses this term, people are forgetting the laws of nature. Because actually the soul, who we really are, is the soul. The soul knows everything. Sat Chit Ananda is full of knowledge, full of bliss, eternally. So because we've forgotten that we are the soul, then we've forgotten everything else also. We've forgotten what the laws of nature are. So what examples does Prabhupada give? We can discuss about who do people think they are? Who do people think their body belongs to? Some examples given here. Could anyone pick up some of these examples? Feel free to speak up.
I'd just like to say that I think because we see the body, which is external, every single day, we tend to associate who we are with our body, but really who we are is our soul. But because we're so busy looking externally, we're not looking internally. If we looked internally, we would know that we are the soul and that's who we are.
That's right, yeah. So just having the right perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, and also having the knowledge as well to know that, because most people just associate with, this is who I am, I'm this person, I'm that person, by the name and obviously the external body that we have, and they're not aware of the internal, who we are, the Atman, Brahman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so they're reluctant to think about that's who they are, to associate with that, because they don't know, they don't have that knowledge.
Yeah. And then that goes on to also seeing others as well. Like, how do we see others? So Prabhupada mentions that that we can think, oh, I'm the soul, but these animals, they're not souls. You see that in some religions, they have this idea that, oh, only human beings, they have soul. Only they're alive, only they're conscious, only they have feelings and thoughts and desires and all of this. So you see that it's like there's different levels of understanding in different faiths, isn't it? So there are some different examples given here about what people consider, who people consider the body belongs to. So some consider the body belongs to a master. A slave thinks the body belongs to the master. Then there's someone may think the body belongs to the father or the mother, or the body belongs to who else is mentioned here? Yeah, that's further down. Yeah. So the end of life, the body just goes to fire. So it belongs to the fire. Put it in the fire. Anything else? So one interesting one in here is also the father gives his daughter in charity to a person with a view of getting back the daughter's child as the son. What's that called? Does anyone know? When a father gives the daughter.
Kanyadan?
Yeah, that's it. So the wedding ceremony is also known as Kanyadan. Kanya means girl or daughter. Dan means charity. So the father thinks that he is giving his daughter in charity to the husband, the bride. The groom, isn't it? So he's thinking.
Here he's saying that with the view of getting a son in the next life. I wasn't aware of that, so that's something new.
Yeah, so he wants to continue the generations of the family. So he gives the daughter, and then the daughter has a son. So then he feels like, oh yeah, I've done my duty, you know. So this is actually also a very cultural aspect, you know, and in these days, even that's not there. So even in the Vedic culture, the society, ancient culture, that would seem to be a very good thing. Of course, it is on one level, but on a higher level, the body doesn't belong to the father, nor does it belong to the husband, nor does it belong to the bride herself. That body, yeah. So Prabhupada gives the answer in the next paragraph. So if we continue reading, then we'll come to that.
Before committing all kinds of sins to maintain the body, one should understand to whom the body belongs. Ultimately, it is concluded that the body is the product of material nature, and at the end of it, it merges into material nature. Therefore, the conclusion should be that the body belongs to material nature. One should not wrongly think the body belongs to him. To maintain a false possession, why should one indulge in killing? Why should one kill innocent animals to maintain the body?
So the answer is given here. Did anyone catch that? Who does the body belong to?
Material nature.
Yeah. So this
material
is
basically.
This is the real answer. The body belongs to material nature. Yeah. So we should understand the body is made of material nature. It's made of either this mixture of sattva gun, rajagun, tamagun. So this is material nature, these three. So the body and the mind is conditioned by these three. So then it goes back into that nature which it comes. But the soul doesn't belong to the material nature. The soul belongs to Krishna. So that means we, the soul, belong to Krishna. And the material nature keeps the material body. So when we have that perspective on life, then it adds additional dimension to life. It adds a whole other dimension on life. Huh? Okay. Prabhu, would you like to read one more, please?
Yeah, sure. When a man is infatuated with the false prestige of opulence, he does not care for any moral instruction, but indulges in wine, women, and animal killing. In such circumstances, poverty-stricken man is often better situated because a poor man thinks of himself in relation to other bodies. A poor man often does not wish to inflict injuries upon other bodies because he can understand more readily that when he himself is injured, he feels pain. Therefore, the great sage Narada considered that because the demigods Nalakuvera and Manigriva were so infatuated by false prestige, they should be put into condition of life devoid of opulence.
So it's one thing to think like oneself as the enjoyer of his own body or her own body. And from that perspective, then one goes further to think that because I have to enjoy my body, therefore I should try and enjoy everybody's body. I should eat meat. I should exploit women or exploit men. I should, intoxicate my body so that I can feel on an artificial level of high, So that's kind of all these sinful things. They come from this root ignorance of who am I. By thinking on the body, we try and exploit the body. We try and exploit other bodies as well. So it gives a different perspective on life to thinking that I belong to Krishna and my body belongs to material nature, and I've been gifted this body by nature, and then I can serve Krishna with this nature, with my body and with the nature around me. I can serve Krishna. So a different perspective on life, a different outlook, and then ultimately a different goal. We'll attain a different goal, isn't it? So unless there's any other comments, maybe Lanisha, would you like to read now? Yeah, you'll have to be a little bit loud though because I can't hear you clearly. So Prabhupada is raising another point here. So first thing is being ignorant of who the body belongs to. And then the second thing is, if we don't know who the body belongs to, then we think the body as ourself, and we become very proud. I've got a very good body. I've got a very beautiful body. I've got a very, I'm very rich. I'm very powerful. I'm very strong, whatever it may be. All these opulences are mine. And, I'm the creator of my own success and my own destiny and so on. Isn't it? So Prabhupada gives an interesting example here, of someone who has that compassion, isn't it? What example does Prabhupada give? Can anyone see that in the paragraph? Mm-hmm. It's in the first sentence there. Could you see that one? Yeah. What is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Prabhupada is giving different levels of understanding of this kind of pride, So even if someone is very proud of their material situation, when they see someone suffering, they may feel some compassion, just like they may have understood, if I was once poor before and I've become wealthy, then I understand what being poor is like, just in the same way, like if you felt a pinprick before and someone else has a pinprick, there's empathy there, isn't it? I can empathize with them because I know how that feels, If you've been through a bad situation and you come across someone else who's been through a similar situation, you can empathize, isn't it? You feel what they're feeling, So that's on one level, like just feeling a pinprick, you know how that is, then you know how it is for someone else. On another level, someone who's been poor before, they become rich, they know how other people who are poor, they know how they feel. So they have some compassion on those poor people because they became wealthy. So like, I think I was just reading up how the most charitable person in the world at the moment is Bill Gates. You know that? Bill Gates, he gives, what is it? 36 billion, he's given $36 billion US dollars in charity. $36 billion. That's like money that most of us would never even see. That's how much he's giving away, what to speak of how much he has. So someone like that, because if you know the story of Bill Gates, he started life with nothing himself. He created, the Microsoft company and the softwares and so on. So he started with nothing himself. And you can see how he became very successful from starting from nothing. And so for him, he could see like how it was struggling because he had been through that struggle in his life, in his early life. So he's actually, considered to be a great philanthropist in modern day. But still, whether one feels a pinprick and one can feel that of others, whether one feels poverty and can feel that towards others, there's still this sense that I'm the one who's giving, I'm the one who's supporting others, I'm doing the good work. So pride is always going to be like a block on spiritual life. So we could read on, unless there's any comments. Can read on.
Okay. To remain in the poverty-stricken condition is a kind of austerity. According to Vedic culture, therefore, the Brahmanas, as a matter of routine, keep themselves in a poverty-stricken condition to save themselves from the false prestige of material opulence. False prestige due to advancement of material prosperity is a great impediment for spiritual emancipation. A poverty-stricken man cannot become unnaturally fat by eating more and more, and on account of not being able to eat more than he requires, his senses are not very turbulent. When the senses are not very turbulent, he cannot become violent.
So Prabhupada is connecting all these different aspects together, isn't it? Huh? So first there's ignorance, thinking I'm my body. Then after that there is like this pride. So therefore those who are actually in knowledge, they detach themselves from this idea that I'm the body, this ignorance. They detach themselves even from opulent lifestyle, huh? And because they don't want to get false prestige, huh? So they don't want that type of opulence. So I was thinking, actually, we haven't spoke much about the pastimes of Krishna, because this is more like a philosophical reading today. So this point is about renunciation, isn't it? So the Brahmins, they renounce themselves from material wealth and power and strength and all those aspects, all the other opulences. So what is the opulence of those Brahmanas then described here? They have the opulence of renunciation, huh? That's also an opulence. Krishna is said to have 6 opulences, huh? He has all wealth, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge. That's 5, and there's a 6th one as well, which is renunciation. It's not one that we consider a lot to be an opulence. If someone is very renounced, we don't think, wow, that's an amazing thing. But actually, the Brahmanas, they could be very renounced and free themselves from all this materialism is also a great thing. So I was thinking how we could connect this to Krishna's pastimes, because we're reading about Damodar Leela, which is very sweet, isn't it? Huh? So this is actually what Krishna is showing us in this pastime of Damodar Leela. How? Because Krishna is all opulent. He's a supreme personality of Godhead. Everything belongs to him. He has all of these opulences. Huh? You see it as Vaikuntapati. He's all opulent. But Krishna, he's showing an opulence which even Narayan is not showing. What is that? His renunciation. Krishna has renounced his Godhead. He's renounced his opulence of being God. Why? Or how? Because he's playing like a baby. Forget all of that, opulence of Vaikuntha. I just want to be like a little baby in the house of Yashodamai. So this is Krishna's renunciation. That even though he's God, he will give up his godhood, and that makes him the supreme personality of Godhead, because he is most renounced. He is the owner of everything. He has everything, and he gives that up and plays like a baby who has to steal butter for the people who he's indebted to. He's indebted to those monkeys, and he's stealing butter to give to them. So how renounced is Krishna? Who can say? That's very renounced, isn't it? Huh? So this is Krishna's opulence of renunciation that's coming through this pastime. This is why it's nicely connected with Nalakuvera and Manigriva, who are on the other extreme, who are very proud of their material opulence. But this little baby, he's a supreme. He is the most renounced. He is the source of all that opulence. Okay? Is that all right? I don't know if that makes sense. Does it make sense?
Yes, Haribol. Even when Krishna was associating with Gopas, he never considered himself he's on a higher level,
Yeah, that's right.
He was considering himself equivalent to others,
Yeah, he puts the Gopas on his level, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or you can say he brings himself to the level of the Gopas. Yeah.
Level of Gopas. Yeah.
Like all the same level.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, would you like to continue reading, Isha?
Yeah, definitely. Another advantage of poverty is that a saintly person can easily enter a poor man's house, and thus the poor man can take advantage of this saintly person's association. A very opulent man does not allow anyone to enter his house. Therefore, this saintly person cannot enter. According to the Vedic system, a saintly person takes the position of a mendicant so that on the plea of begging someone from the householder, he can enter any house. The householder, who has usually forgotten everything about spiritual advancement because he is busy maintaining family affairs, can be benefited by the association of a saintly person. There is a great chance for the poor man to be liberated through association with a saint. Of what use are persons who are puffed up with material opulence and prestige if they are bereft of the association of saintly persons and devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
So, what points were interesting to you all in this section, this paragraph? So not only the brahmanas or the saintly people or the sadhus, not only do they have this renunciation, they actually use that renunciation, that opulence of renunciation, they're using it to serve Krishna, isn't it? And how do they serve Krishna? By being renounced, what do they do?
They go to beg from householders.
Yeah. So this is very interesting because they already have all the knowledge. If they wanted to become rich, they have knowledge. They know how to make money, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they don't go and start a business. The saintly people, but they go as beggars to people's house.
Yeah.
And why do they do that?
They do that so that the people can get the association of a saintly person, so that they can be liberated.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I thought that was really amazing. They voluntarily become renounced. They choose not to accept any opulence, even though they are rich with knowledge and so many other opulences themselves, the brahmanas and the saintly people. And then they go begging to people's house to give them knowledge. So who's begging? Who's getting the benefit? This person is getting a chapati or two, rice and dal a little bit, but he's giving wisdom, he's giving knowledge. Who's benefiting? Yeah, who do you think is benefiting?
Householders.
The householders are benefiting. Yeah. So how much, as many of us are householders, how much do we take advantage of this? Huh? Now we're in lockdown, we can think about it, isn't it? Now we can't invite people to our home. We can't invite saintly devotees to our home. But we can think about, when this all comes, this social distance comes to an end, how we can really get benefit from saintly people by inviting them to our home. This is coming out through this pastime as well.
Yeah.
So when we are very opulent and rich, then we just think, oh, I don't need that help from saintly people. I've got what I need in my life. I'm settled. I'm satisfied. So they always find it easier to go to poor people's house. Huh? So the poor people, in that sense, they have got better advantage, isn't it? What do you think? What does everyone think?
You would most people think that the people who have more money are benefited and they get better things, but this is quite the opposite to what they think, because the poor people are more blessed by the saintly people. Yeah. I find it really amazing.
So, so this creates an interesting perspective. I was thinking because so who is considered to be very lowly and very fallen? Is it very wealthy people, or is it very poor people? Who is in a more
Materially or spiritually?
So in terms of like opulence, materially opulent people, or people who are not materially opulent, who is in a better situation?
Opulent people are spiritually poor.
Yeah, materially opulent people are generally very spiritually poor. Generally, not always, because they feel like they don't need to invite saintly people home. Huh? So this is like a very common thing in modern day, isn't it? So this term is sometimes used, patita pavana, huh? The savior of the fallen, isn't it? Have you heard this term before? So who is actually
Comes in that
patita?
song.
Huh?
Comes in that song.
It's common, yeah, it's common in many bhajans, patit pavan. So who is actually patita? Who is actually very fallen? It's very opulent people. They've completely forgotten Krishna. That's a very fallen position, actually. So you see how everything spins on its head when you see from the spiritual, when you have spiritual perspective. Huh? So we should consider ourselves to be very fortunate. Because in today's world, those people who've got so much opulence and how is it going to help them at the moment, in this situation where there's COVID, everyone's in fear. They don't know who the body belongs to. And if they go out, there's fear that, I'll catch some disease, I'm going to die, I'm going to be finished. My body will belong to fire or to the worms. So they don't have that knowledge, And today, sorry, I'm deviating a little bit, but today we've got a special guest coming on in a few moments. So we've got a dear friend of mine, actually. His name is Divyanam Prabhu, and he's going to do a short presentation on how to become very fortunate. Does that sound nice? A little bit of a surprise today, because it's just the night before Janmashtami. So I'm hoping he's going to join in a few minutes. It's very relevant to the reading today to hear his presentation. Let's go on though. He'll come on in maybe 10 minutes or so.
I'll just quickly say something, Prabhu, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
I just think all that we've done today, right till the end, just what we've just talked about, it's all very relevant in the sense that we started off with the thing that we do not realize who we are. So it's just realizing, who am I? As soon as we do that, everything else becomes clear. So the opulence, the poor, what is rich, what is poor, and all the other things we've talked about or read so far in this chapter, it all pins down to that single question of people not realizing, who am I? And I find that really interesting, because we take our entire life and we still don't realize, who am I?
Thank you for sharing that reflection in this chapter. It's very wonderfully put together by Srila Prabhupada, isn't it, this message?
Yeah.
Haribol,
Hare Krishna.
I like to share something. To become fortunate, I think we should become poor. Now, we know which way. Sometimes when you talk about poor people, then people always think about they have no money, they have no properties, they haven't got anything. I'm not talking about the poor people that way. Doesn't matter how much you have, but if you have understanding, nothing is mine, and that makes you poor, just by understanding.
Sorry, it's on mute.
Oh, yeah.
That really puts everything into perspective, Prabhu. So it's not actually so much that externally we
Yeah.
are very rich, but actually we should feel that understanding should be there. I don't have Krishna. Remember we were discussing last week that so Krishna woke up from his bed and he saw Arjun and he saw Duryodhan and he asked them both, what do you want? Do you want me?
Mm.
Or do you want my opulence? Do you want my army? Arjun immediately knew what he wanted. I don't have Krishna. I want Krishna. So this is a perfect example. See? He felt like he didn't have Krishna. That's how we should feel.
It's like a real Brahmanas. When I say real Brahmanas, means not necessarily just born in a Brahmin family, but by qualification. So real Brahmanas, they are not sannyasis actually, but they are renounced, aren't they? Without being sannyasi, you know, without wearing a saffron clothes and.
Yes. So we cannot always judge externally.
No.
So even if someone is very rich, still they can be very renounced because they understand, I don't have Krishna, or I just want Krishna. All these other things, it may be there, may not be there. So superfluous, you know. It doesn't really matter whether I have or don't have. If I have, I will use it for Krishna. If I don't have, then I will go for Krishna also. I will not try and get everything which I don't have. So either way. So many pastimes about great and wealthy people who kind of demonstrate this example. Can anyone think of that? Any examples? One that came to my mind. If you have one, just feel free to share. If anyone has. One that came to my mind was in the past times of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which we don't get to discuss so much. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is obviously the incarnation of Krishna. He's Krishna himself in the modern day. And to exhibit this this kind of teaching, there was one of his associates, Gadadhar Pandit, who went to the house of what was the name? I forgot the name now. You remember who his guru became? Gadadhar Pandit? Because that's a nice pastime which explains this. I've forgotten now, actually. So I think there's also anyway, there's so many examples in the Vedic scriptures. Another story is the King Kulashekar. Has anyone heard of King Kulashekar? Huh? King Kulashekar, of course, from his name you can see he is a king. He was a very successful king, but he was completely addicted. So you can literally say he was addicted to hearing the Ramayana, you know. And he wasn't so much interested in controlling and manipulating his kingdom. He was taking very good care, and at the same time, he just wanted to use all of his time as much as possible to hear the Ramayana. He was 100% sold out to Lord Ramchandra, and so much so that when he was listening to Ramayana, and of course Ramayana is such an epic that it goes through so many ups and downs in the life of Lord Ramchandra. Then when he heard that Sita was kidnapped, and he was listening like from the Brahmanas of this pastime of Sita's abduction, then he was like, bring my army, let's get ready to go to war. Let's go to Lanka and finish that Ravan, Like this was his renunciation, actually. He was a very opulent king, but he was so mad for the Lord. It was such a high level of bhava, that he just thought, I have to do something. He became so like into the pastime as a king that he wanted to do something to help to serve Ram with his opulence. He was not thinking it's my opulence. I have to do something to serve Lord Ram. So this is the story of Kulashekar Maharaj. So a lot of pastimes like that. Nice pastimes. Of course, we can continue discussing these things for hours and not read much of Krishna books. So I'm sorry about that. Lenisha, would you like to continue reading?
Okay, Prabhu. The great sage Narada thereafter thought that it was his duty to put those demigods into a condition where they could not be falsely proud of their material opulence and prestige. Narada was compassionate and wanted to save them from their fallen life. They were in the mode of darkness, and being therefore unable to control their senses, they were addicted to sex life. It was the duty of a saintly person like Narada to save them from their abominable condition. In animal life, the animal has no sense to understand that he is naked. But Kuvera was the treasurer of the demigods, a very responsible man, and Nalakuvera and Manigriva were two of his sons, and yet they became so animalistic and irresponsible that they could not understand due to intoxication that they were naked. To cover the lower part of the body is a principle of human civilization, and when men or women forget this principle, they become no better than animals. Narada therefore thought that the best punishment for them was to make them immovable living entities or trees. Trees are by nature's law immovable. Although trees are covered by the mode of ignorance, they cannot do harm. The great sage Narada thought it fitting that, although the brothers would be punished to become trees, by his mercy they would continue to keep their memory and be able to know why they were being punished. After changing the body, a living entity generally forgets his previous life, but in special cases, by the grace of the Lord, as with Nalakuvera and Manigriva, one can remember.
Okay. Sorry, this is just reiterating what we've been reading and summarizing this past time, how the compassion of Narada Muni has been to deliver these two brothers from the misunderstanding that their opulence is the cause of their great success, but actually they were acting like animals. And so he's giving them a benefit of becoming trees in the garden of Krishna. Okay. So I want to welcome here Divya Nam Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu. He's going to share very presentation with us. So please listen attentively. Prabhu, we've just been discussing about the pastime of Nalakuvera Manigriva.
Wonderful.
Although they were so opulent, they didn't have this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and therefore actually they were in the most lowest condition. So I'd like you to begin your presentation, and Divya Nam Prabhu is going to give us a presentation on the Srimad Bhagavatam, a special opportunity we have for Janmashtami. So please listen attentively.
Thank you.
Over to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sachinandan Prabhu, and thank you everybody for giving me this opportunity. Prabhu, will you make me the host so I can share some slides?
So Lenisha is currently the host. Lenisha, can you manage to do that?
See, Prabhu. I don't know. I haven't done yet. But
so if you click on my name, there will be a section called More, and when you click on More, it will say Make a host, make this person a host. And if you just click on that, I'll be able to share my.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, okay. We found it. Thanks, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So hopefully you all can see my slide. So what do you see on the first slide here, if I may ask, just so that I could confirm that you're able to see it? Sachinandan Prabhu, can you see my slides?
Yes,
yes,
Prabhu.
we can see.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry, I just closed the window because no noise.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So firstly, I'd like to congratulate all of you uh, for being in the discussion of the topmost topic in the world, which is Krishna Katha, and uh, and especially discussing the Krishna book is the best thing one can do at this time of the year when we are ready to try and welcome the Lord in our heart as He is going to appear tomorrow. So you're engaged in a very wonderful service in a very wonderful association of Sachinanda Karuna Prabhu. So now I'd just like to share with you a wonderful opportunity to make further advancement in Krishna consciousness, and that is to give you a little bit of a background of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm sure you already have heard of Srimad Bhagavatam, but Srimad Bhagavatam was originally spoken by, well, written by Srila Vyasadeva 5,000 years ago. And then later on, Vyasadeva foretold the same Srimad Bhagavatam to his son Sukadev Goswami, who's now sat on this Vyasasan in front of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj only had a week to live because he was cursed to die within 7 days. So it's a very instructive pastime for us because our acharyas explained that at least Parikshit Maharaj knew he had 7 days. We don't even know whether we will have 7 hours, 7 months, 70 years. It's very difficult to predict. So in one sense, one can say, oh, only 7 days, and feel this person is going to die. But our acharya says that Parikshit Maharaj felt he was in the most fortunate situation because he was able to completely give up his kingdom, all attachments, and be surrendered at the lotus feet of a pure devotee like Sukhdev Goswami to hear the best answers of the best questions, which were what should be the duty of a person who's about to die? What should he sing? What should he hear? And what should be his activities? And those answers are being given in this literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, directly by Sukhdev Goswami. And this is that beautiful pastime happening at the banks of, some acharyas says Ganges and some say Yamuna. So they're all sat there. Many other demigods had also descended from the heavenly planets like Narad Muni, Lord Shiva, and they were all there hearing this wonderful katha from Sukhdev Goswami. So as I said, it's a 7-day conversation, and Bhagavatam is actually non-different from Krishna. And in the first canto, this verse comes, Krishne swadham upagate dharma jana dibi saha kalo nashta drisham esha purana arko dunodita. That this Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So this Bhagavatam is meant to bring about revolution in the world's misdirected civilization, as Srila Prabhupada writes in the preface of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this particular verse talks about that right now, although the society has made so much of advancement, but yet there is a pinprick somewhere, and yet people are not feeling that illumination. But this Srimad Bhagavatam will illuminate our heart, illuminate our lives and our consciousness. And that's exactly what you were doing when you were reading and discussing Krishna book. The original appearance of Bhagavatam happened in the way that when Lord Krishna, after having spoken Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna and having finished all his earthly pastimes, as he was about to go back to Golok Vrindavan, his very dear devotee Uddhava asked him that, my Lord, now that you're living, what is going to happen to the world? Where will the spiritual principles take shelter of? Where will people take shelter of? And Krishna said, my dear Uddhava, do not worry. When I leave, Srimad Bhagavatam will appear. And that will keep us all afloat in this world. And that's exactly what Bhagavatam is being doing. So Bhagavatam is an incarnation of Lord Krishna. It is explained in the Padma Puran that each limb of the body represents a certain part of the body of the Lord. Sorry, each canto represents a certain limb or the body of the part of Krishna. So you can see in this picture, the Lord's lotus feet are the first and the second canto. His legs and thighs are third and fourth canto, and all the way to his forehead is the 12th canto. So any temple you visit of International Society of Krishna Consciousness, you will not find like second and third canto, because if you want to welcome the Lord, you want to welcome his entire body. That's why it is explained that this Bhagavatam is like Golok Vrindavan. So when this Bhagavatam moves into your home, even the Vastu, the entire energy of your house changes actually. And what is Shrimad Bhagavatam? It is the ripened fruit of the Vedic literature tree, like the real essence of all the Vedic literatures. It is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, who's the author of all the Vedas. It is an incarnation of the Lord, and it covers a range of highest philosophical truths. And here it is, Narad Muni instructing Vyasadeva that now, after that you've written the Mahabharata, written all the Vedas, it's time for you to glorify Lord Krishna in detail. And that is when Vyasadeva sat down to give us this wonderful literature. Lot of us, including myself, when I came to Krishna consciousness, I always thought that Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are same literature. But very soon I realized that Bhagavad Gita is a philosophical text, and Srimad Bhagavatam explains the same philosophy in form of stories actually. So wherever the Bhagavad Gita ends, Bhagavatam begins. Although our founder Acharya has suggested that one gradually goes step by step, that you read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, but he also encouraged the reading of both the literatures, because when you visit a temple, you will see Bhagavatam classes going on in the morning and Bhagavad Gita is going on in the evening. So when the philosophy and the stories are put together, it brings about the best result as far as our spiritual advancement is concerned. Bhagavad Gita, of course, has 700 texts, and Bhagavatam has 18,000 texts. There are many stories. I won't go into the details of the stories today, because you've already been discussing wonderful stories from the Krishna book. So I'll save this for Sachinandan Karuna Prabhu to do this another day with all of you once you get to like gradually read steady Bhagavatam together. So he'll cover those with all of you. There are many nice pastimes of how the holy name is so important, and somebody who chants the holy name will always be protected by the Lord, how Ajamil was protected. Story of Gajendra is all about surrender. Actually, our life, we are all in some way or other Gajendra, because we are living in this material world. So we are always in danger. For some of us, it takes us a while for it to come to surface and really see that suffering. But for some of us, realize very, very soon through the suffering and try to surrender to the Lord. It's an authentic presentation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us 64 ways of practicing bhakti, and out of those 64, the 5 are the most potent one, and one of them is studying Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. It explains various signs like the development of embryo, what happens in the 4th month, 5th month, 7th month, the child starts to hear. So having taken shelter of Bhagavatam, you will not default on this knowledge which is coming directly from Krishna. It talks about the concept of time. It talks about the cosmology, the various scientific discoveries. For children, if you have a family, you want to give them the best of the best role models, give them Srimad Bhagavatam, discuss them these beautiful pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruv Maharaj, who's at the age of 5 attained the perfection of their spiritual life. And their desire was to spread and share this same perfection they achieved with everybody else. There are role models in the 9th canto where the glorification of Lord Ram and his devotee Hanuman is there. Each canto, at the end of the canto, there is a Sanskrit guide on how to pronounce and learn to recite verses and memorize these beautiful Sanskrit shlokas actually. So there are 18 volumes in 12 cantos. As I explained earlier, that each of these are limbs of the body of Krishna. So you will not find 1 or 2 books. They come together like the whole body of Krishna. And there is a wonderful opportunity which is coming up on not only tomorrow, of course, Janmashtami is there. If you like to decide, it's the best day to decide to welcome the Lord. But on 1st of September, which is a day called Bhadra Purnima, it is directly mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto, 13th chapter, 13th verse, that if on the full moon day of month of Bhadra, if you take Bhagavatam and place it on this beautiful golden throne which is there in front of you, and you give it as a gift to somebody, you attain the gift of going back to spiritual world just by doing that act. Even if you were to give it to your husband, your daughter, your neighbor, your friend, or if you want us to place it, if you already have Bhagavatam, we will place it in a library, universities, and hospitals, so you can also sponsor Bhagavatam. So it's a great opportunity. Just by doing this, your destination of going back to spiritual world is guaranteed, directly coming from Srimad Bhagavatam. And so we have a couple of options. One another benefit I wanted to mention to you before I share the options is that this year especially, ISKCON Indian team is organizing a Mahayagya in Nemesharanya forest, where the Bhagavatam was spoken for the second time by Suta Goswami. And in this yagya, the names of all the devotees like you will be chanted, who decide to welcome Bhagavatam in their home, or sponsor it, or even gift it, or even try to distribute it. So there will be a big yagya being organized on 2nd, because in India, in India, the Bhadra Purnima is on 2nd, and here it's on 1st because of the time difference. So the yagya will be organized, and your name will be chanted in the yagya, and prayers will be read. If not, at least it will be offered in the ahuti, because we are looking to have at least 10,000 names, because we are hoping to distribute 10,000 sets all over the world this year. Uh, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of an advantage here and say in front presence of Sachinandan Prabhu that if you do decide to welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, then I will personally request here Sachinandan Prabhu and his good wife to come to your home and do an installation ceremony of Srimad Bhagavatam, where they will perform a beautiful arti. They will do a kirtan in your home, and then you can have little fruits or some prasadam which you can invite your friends and family and let them hear about Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a joyful occasion because you're welcoming Krishna at home. So without asking Sachinandan Prabhu's permission, I'm already telling you that I'm sure he'll be very happy when the lockdown slightly eases to come to your home with his family and do a welcoming ceremony of Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that okay, Sachinandan Prabhu? You're on mute, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you. Actually, it's a wonderful opportunity for me.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Prabhu will come and he will also explain you that what is the right mood, how we can take shelter of Bhagavatam, how this is a worshipable text, and also share what Srila Prabhupada went through from his beginning of years living in Vrindavan all the way traveling 12 times the world, and only taking rest for 2 hours so he could keep on writing or transcribing Srimad Bhagavatam. Even to the point when he was leaving his body in Vrindavan, he was still transcribing Srimad Bhagavatam with a dictaphone near to him. So now I want to invite you that there are few options for you take. We are not here to, this is not a sale pitch. I'm a practicing devotee like Sachinandan Prabhu. My seva at the temple is to try and help Srila Prabhupada in distributing his literature. So I wanted to humbly present this opportunity to all of you that if you just want to present Bhagavatam, take Bhagavatam, we have it in Hindi, English, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu, and Bengali. These 6 languages are available for you to choose from. And it is only 211 pounds if you just want to take the Bhagavatam. But if you want to take it with this beautiful stand or a golden throne, because the verse says you have to put it on a golden throne and give it, it's only 225 pounds. So these are the 2 options I wanted to leave it with all of you. And there is a third option. If you want to attend a course and want some guidance, then I will speak to Sachinandan Prabhu and share some resources with him where he can become naturally your coach and guide you through the process of studying and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And that package is called the Bhagavat Lifestyle Package, where you will not only get the throne, you will get a companion guide called Book Bhagavat, recently written by Sutapa Prabhu. You will get a 1 hour of session, which I'll request Sachinandan Prabhu to do it, especially on Bhagavatam glorification with all of you. And he will be there to answer your questions when you're reading and studying Bhagavatam. And you will be invited for an overview of Bhagavatam course, which we are going to be launching around mid-September for 8 or 10 weeks. You can attend that course complimentary actually, because if you decided to take the Bhagavat Lifestyle Package. So these are the 3 packages available. And now I wanted to hand it over back to Sachinandan Prabhu to say any final words of encouragement and maybe request all of you to participate in this wonderful opportunity. And even if you finding it difficult right now to have 207 or 250 pounds, we can make it possible for you to pay us in 3 installments, because it needs to go to the temple. So we can arrange that through Sachinandan Prabhu, that you can pay us in 3 installments. But if you can, then pay it in one go. It's nicer, it's much easier. And the best day to take that vow of welcoming Bhagavatam is tomorrow. So if you do decide to take it, then let Sachinandan Prabhu know. I'm going to share a Google link with him. You just need to fill up the form and the payment link is there. And if you live locally, we can try to deliver the set to you. If not, we can courier it to you for a nominal fee of 14 pounds to your home. So over to you, Sachinandan Prabhu. Sorry,
Hare
I had
Krishna.
to rush through the presentation, Prabhu. I do apologize if I've gone over.
Hare Krishna. No problem, Prabhu. That was really wonderful. Actually, personally, I'm feeling very inspired. So if I may, I would like to be the first one to sponsor one set.
Haribol! Wonderful, Sachinandan
Thank you
Prabhu.
for this
Jai.
opportunity.
Thank you so much.
I'm like deeply inspired by this project, really. And just reflecting on what we've read today, it's an absolute perfect fit. You know, we've been reading about how the world is suffering due to lack of knowledge, due to ignorance. We've been reading how, you know, this therefore leads to puffed up position. And then, you know, how saintly persons can come to the home and enlighten you. And so this is like an absolute perfect fit, the mother of all solutions, Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it, Prabhu?
It is Sachinandan Prabhu. So thank you so much for making that start. I'd like to ask if anybody is also feeling as inspired as Sachinandan Prabhu. Feel free if you have any comments or any questions you may want to ask Prabhu or myself for the next couple of minutes. Or if you want to express a desire to yes, that you would like to welcome, you want to inquire about particular language and how the welcoming ceremony happens. So all of that I can try to answer. Is that okay, Sachinandan Prabhu, for the next 2-3 minutes, if there's
Yes,
anybody is feeling to share anything?
yes, please stay on board for a few moments to ask. Anyone would like to ask questions, Divyanand Prabhu? Even if you don't want to commit right now, that's okay. Even if you just have some
Yes.
thoughts or some question, please.
You can just unmute yourself and feel free to ask. I want to share a little story with all of you before I end. Last year, we reached out to His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, who's also Guru Maharaj of Sachinandan Karuna Prabhu. So we requested Maharaj to give us a video for this campaign. And in that video, Maharaj narrated a beautiful pastime. He said that one time, one devotee was carrying this Bhagavatam on his head. And unfortunately, he was hit by a car just crossing the road, and he left his body. And when the news got to Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, this devotee has gone back to the spiritual world just purely because he was carrying the best of the best burden on his head in form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So my humble request is, you may be thinking, where is the space? And so many questions must be coming in your mind. But if you invite Krishna in your home, he will make space for everything else which you may desire or which you may even need. Krishna will arrange that. All Krishna wants is to come to your home and for you to embrace this wonderful work, which I call it the hard labor of Srila Prabhupada, labor of love. And every word of this Bhagavatam text is so glorious that even if you open the text, read one word, touch it to your head, you'll make spiritual progress. We will give you a complimentary audio app where you can listen the entire audio translation in English and the purport. We will give you an application you can download to set yourself a daily target of reading even 2 or 3 pages. So all these resources are available for you along with these books, so that it helps you, inspires you to read the book. So now I leave it to you. If you like to take a set, let Sachinandan Prabhu know, and Prabhu can reach out to me, and I can send the Google form, which you can fill it up and send it to us, and we can arrange the set for you. Any comments or questions from anybody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, it's Charlie.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So just a very quick question. So I've recently got a set.
Wonderful.
But I haven't actually opened it. I'm quite inspired to hear about all the apps and all of that. So I would love to be able to. I mean, I mean, obviously you don't have my name, or I haven't given my name as such, but I would love to have those apps so that I can set myself a target, and then also be able to join the hour-long seminar which you mentioned, if that's possible at all.
Yeah, so Mataji, the long seminar, the overview of Bhagavatam will come out of School of Bhakti, and you will be able to enroll it just by paying a fee because you already have the set. And as far as the application is concerned, if you, I will email the link to Prabhu and you can download it. But if you have a pen, at least for setting the target, you can write down. It's called Be a Sage, page by page, and it's available on iOS and Android both. Be a Sage, B-E-A Sage, S-A-G-E, page by page. That's what the app is called, and you can download it. And you can set your target for any of the Prabhupada books on it, actually.
Okay, so be a sage.
Page by page.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you very much
Thank you
indeed.
so much, Mataji. Now that you have the Bhagavatam, absolutely, even having the Bhagavatam, it will change the energy, but open it and begin reading, and especially when you have the best of best association of Prabhus like Sachinandan Prabhu, then you're not going to be far from opening it and reading it very soon, Mataji.
I need to understand it, so I need Prabhu to explain before I can.
He will,
because
definitely.
I'm a complete new, very beginner to Krishna consciousness.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you. Anybody else has any other comments or question? Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Jigna Mataji.
It's great to know that the set is available in the different languages as well. I didn't know that before. I was just wondering, with the live package and the talks or classes that might have, could that also be available in other languages like Gujarati?
That's a very good question. Not at this stage, Mataji. Unfortunately, if you do decide to take a Gujarati Bhagavatam, but the audio app and the page set, the reading app, setting up yourself a target, they are all in English at the moment, Mataji. We don't have the audio available, but it's not like I've had, like we distributed, Mataji, believe it or not, in the last 2 months since we started the campaign, as of today, we have distributed around 200 sets of Bhagavatam, Mataji. And our goal is to do 300 this year for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, and we are looking at 500 for all over UK. So many devotees had this question, but what they did, they took a Gujarati set, and because somewhat or other they were familiar with English, so they were reading Gujarati and hearing English. So they were working on both language, and it quite complemented very well. So my humble request or suggestion will be for you, go for Gujarati, because these are only 18 volume, beautiful sets, and you can have all the other applications and courses you can attend in English.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. I'll share the Google link with Sachinandan Prabhu, and he can share it with you. Do think about it, discuss it with your family. It's the best decision of your life, Mataji, to invite Srimad Bhagavatam at home.
Yes, I think we will get the Gujarati set.
Jai, amazing, Mataji. That's wonderful. This is Krishna's mercy. Bhagavatam comes to those who wants to invite them, because you're inviting the Lord. So I will share the form, and on the auspicious occasion of Janmashtami, you can fill up the details. Where do you live, Mataji?
Just in Kenton, Kingsbury.
In Kenton. Wonderful. So we will deliver the set for you in the next 1 week, Mataji. I'll make sure personally that somebody from our team will come home, deliver the set. And Sachinandan Prabhu has already given me his promise. Next month, when things ease down, he will come to your home with his wife, good wife, and his wonderful daughter. And he will do the installation ceremony at your home, Mataji. He will welcome the Bhagavatam in a very grand style.
Oh, that will be amazing.
Sure, Mataji.
Thank you.
No problem.
Congratulations to you for being the recipient of Srimad Bhagavatam.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Any last comments or questions, or anybody who's like to express interest in welcoming Bhagavatam?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Actually, I got 2 sets of Bhagavatam at home.
Wonderful.
One I bought it few years back, and one I got it as a gift. But as Panchali Mataji said, I have opened it, first volume, but I couldn't understand better. So I just couldn't proceed with that. So I closed it and kept it in my bookshelf though. But I would like to read it. Even I would like to go with that goal setting and then and then class. That would be
Yeah,
good.
sure. So watch out, Mataji. I will share the email with Sachinandan Prabhu, and he will forward that course once it's going to come out after Janmashtami, because it's starting on 15th or 16th of September. So it'll be at a certain donation fee, which you can pay and join. It'll be done online, and Sachinandan Prabhu will share the details with all of you. So that's absolutely fine, and it's great to have two sets. My Guru Maharaj says, like, how people have TV in different rooms. Not you all are wonderful souls, but many people like to have a TV in every single room. So you should have a Bhagavatam set in every room as you go in, so you feel inspired to open it and read it, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm conscious it's getting late, but if there is anybody else for any last comment or question, otherwise I'll hand it back to Sachinandan Prabhu and take your leave.
Okay, so heartfelt gratitude and thanks to
Thank you,
Divyanand
Prabhu.
Prabhu for committing this time to be giving us this wonderful presentation. He's going around to so many groups, and he's extremely busy. So I'm really glad we managed to have him the very eve of Janmashtami to give us this special opportunity, something to meditate on tomorrow, something tangible, isn't it? Something
Yes, Prabhu.
tangible to meditate on, that we can receive Krishna in our home. This is our prayer, isn't it, for Janmashtami? We want Krishna to come
Absolutely.
be with us.
Yes.
So
Yes,
thank
Prabhu.
you so much, Prabhu. Very
Thank you,
great.
Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
And of
Thank you
course,
again, everybody. Hare Krishna.
look out for the materials in our WhatsApp group. And seriously consider, if you have a set, you may wish to gift one
Yes.
to a loved one or someone less fortunate than ourselves. So
Yeah,
Prabhu's
that's a
got
great idea. It's the best gift you can give it to somebody, especially if you took it now, have it in your home, and just as 1st September comes on that day, put it on the throne and give it to somebody. Just by doing that act, you're going back to spiritual world. Or you tell Prabhu that I want it to be placed in a care home or hospital. That is as good as giving it to a gift. But if you have a friend who doesn't have, this is the best thing you can give it to them. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to take a leave. Hare Krishna, Sachin Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so there is also this placement scheme as well. Just wanted to add. Okay.